Welcome back. That brings us to the last aspect of our discussion on discourse analysis for today, which is the discussion on register, language register, or in simple words, mode, tenor, and field. Okay, mode, tenor, and domain, or mode, tenor, and field. They mean the same. Okay, so let's take a look at what is mode, what is tenor, and what is domain. Okay, so these are the aspects of language variation register. That is the ways in which you identify or analyze a discourse is called as register. There are three aspects to this identification: mode, domain, and tenor. What is mode? You take a look at the text and you are able to identify whether the mode is spoken or written, right? We know the difference between speech and writing. When we look at a particular text and we are able to read the text and we are able to identify whether the text is written or it is spoken, or it is reporting a spoken text. Okay. So now let's take a look at how the text will appear, right? Or what is the difference, right? In your textbook, you will see the differences between speech and writing. We know the difference, right? Speech is explicit, explicit, whereas, speech is not explicit, whereas writing is explicit. We know that there are lack of clear sentences in speech. We use a lot of fillers like maybe, no. Whereas in writing, the sentences are quite clear. Remember, we are talking about mode, right? When you're speaking, the sentences are quite simple, whereas in writing, the sentence is more complex. There is repetitiveness in speech, whereas there is not repetitive in writing. We have normal fluency in writing, whereas there is non-fluencies in speaking. There are various features such as interacting features in spoken language, whereas written language, it is a non-interactive features, right? So we know that there is formal informality as well involved. So the mode is nothing but the mode in which the text is presented to you, whether it is spoken or it is written. Then comes the domain. Domain is your experiential aspect of language, whether the subject matter of the language is belonging to a particular subject. Domain is nothing but the category about which the text is written or the text is spoken. Domain is nothing but the theme or subject matter of the particular discourse that you are analyzing. For example, you could be reading, you could be analyzing an essay on the condition of journalism. So you know that the domain is journalism. You may be reading a text from a legal case, that the domain is the legal domain. You may be reading a poem written by William Wordsworth. The domain is creative domain or literature domain, language and literature domain, right? And under domain is where we have the functions of language, which we just understood in the previous video, right? We spoke about how there are different kinds of functions that language exercises or serves. And under domain, we also have the functions of language. So domain is nothing but the subject matter or the theme or which genre or which category that particular discourse belongs to. So if you know you're reading a text on the latest tax laws, taxation laws, you know that it is the domain of income tax or domain of finance. Okay. If you're talking about a particular film, you know that you're talking about a particular film's greatness. You're talking about a film's qualities. Then you know that it is the domain of film review or film studies, right? So the domain is nothing but the category or the theme about which the particular discourse is. Finally comes the tenor. Tenor is nothing but the context of the given discourse. Remember, in your school, you would have written Sandarbh Sahit Vyakhya Kijiye or Bhavartha Vanna Bariri. You would have had specific notations, annotations you would have done in school, right? They would ask you to tell who said to whom, right? Basic aspect of tenor, right? They would have asked you who the given discourse is between. Okay, they will give you a dialogue and ask you to identify the speakers. So tenor is nothing but the interpersonal aspect of discourse, which is who are you writing or talking to, or what is your relationship with them? What is the relationship of the writer with the reader? What is the relationship of the characters that are there in the particular discourse that is given to you. What is the context of that particular text, right? Where are they from, or what is the background of the given text, or what is the implied mode of the implied mood of the text? What is it that the author means when the author writes? Okay, so the tenor explains the context of a particular discourse. I hope this is clear to you. Mode is whether it is spoken or written. Domain is which area it belongs to, which category it belongs to. Tenor is the interpersonal function where you establish the context, or you talk about the context, social context of the given discourse, and also about the speaker or the writer. So that is all about mode, domain, and tenor. What would you be asked to do in your exam? In your exam, you would be given a particular discourse, and you will be asked to identify the language functions. You will also be asked to identify the tenor, the mode, and the domain, right? So your domain could be anything. Your domain could be journalism, advertising, business, science, public speaking, conversation, anything, right? You must remember that the category of domain does not have clear-cut distinctions. It is open to interpretation, right? But the functions of language are not like that. So, which is why under domain, we also have the functions of language. Finally, when it comes to tenor, what matters is if you're able to identify the exact aspects that are discussed in the particular text. I would request you to go through the texts that are given. There are various examples given in your textbook. I hope that you go through those examples. And if you have any questions to ask, you can always utilize the modes of communication and do that. All right. Thank you so much, and all the best for your exams.